Your living room isn't awkward by accident. It's awkward because it's laid out like a furniture showroom instead of a real place people are meant to live in. If you don't know, my name is Cooper, and of course, today we are going to be talking about a very common problem amongst people. That being, you bought nice furniture and it still doesn't feel right. And don't worry, you're not alone in this. I think we've all been there at some point. It's probably not a matter of replacing what you have, but rather educating yourself on how to make intentional choices on where you're placing things in your home. Before we get into the meat of the video, I wanted to talk about what awkward exactly means. So, awkward is not a style problem. It's not. What it is an interaction problem. Awkward doesn't mean ugly, it doesn't mean mismatched. It means it's failing at a couple key elements that are really significant in bringing a room together. It doesn't establish a hierarchy amongst the pieces in the room. It doesn't tell you where to sit. It doesn't tell you where your eyes should rest because there's no visual landing zone. And it doesn't support movement throughout the room, which creates an air of bad circulation. Three or more of these things can come together to make up an awkward space. It doesn't matter how expensive or how nice the furniture you actually have is, because a living room can have a $5,000 sofa and still feel weird if the room doesn't operate correctly. We're fixing an operation rather than specific decor. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is something that's very under discussed in the interior design zeitgeist, and that is that most awkward rooms are missing a real anchor. And again, I think there's a common misconception around what an anchor in a room is. It's not a specific couch, it's not a specific rug, it's the dominant visual weight in the room that everything else is obedient to. So how do you even go about understanding what the anchor object is in your own space? Well, there's a few things that designers look for here. It needs to be a clear primary object or zone, an element that really kind of wins the room. It's where your eye goes as soon as you walk in. And it's the main thing that the room is organized around, not just kind of placed around randomly. Let's take my living room, for example, since there's a lot of saturated colors in that space. So you might be thinking, oh, Cooper, wouldn't the anchor in this room be the green rug? No, it actually wouldn't be. The anchor in my personal living room would be the mid-century orangey red sofa that I have. It dominates the room, it creates a moment, and it's the primary object of interest in the space that you're just naturally drawn to. And I think this is something that the average person gets wrong quite often. I see a lot of people buy really good pieces. However, the issue is that every single piece they buy is trying to be the main character in the space. They do a statement couch, they do a statement chair, they do a statement coffee table, giant art in a busy rug. And what ends up happening is everything in the room is arguing with itself, and it just creates an awkward vibe that nobody wants to spend time in. You have to allow statement pieces to breathe in the room, or else they're not going to be statement pieces in the first place. This is my gripe with overly maximalist interiors, because it's not that the spaces are necessarily bad or ugly or, whatever. The problem is they have such good pieces thrown in there, but you can't see anything because it's so overcrowded with clutter or small decor items or, whatever it might be. And it makes me sad because genuinely, if people pared down a little bit in those spaces, you'd have a beautiful, beautiful room. And obviously, that's my opinion. So, take that with a grain of salt. The other thing that people do in this scenario is they go in the complete opposite direction. People will search for furniture for their home that's just completely safe in all areas. Everything is kind of medium, everything is kind of gray, nothing really anchors the room at all, and so it ends up feeling really flat and kind of floaty. I see this happen a lot in people's first apartment because they don't know what to do, they're scared of incorporating color, and so they just buy whatever's going to feel the safest, and then they get upset because the space has no personality and they feel like they can't be in it. So how do you diagnose this problem, right? Well, I have a little task that you guys can try out in regards to figuring out what the issue might be surrounding the anchor of your room. Ask yourself, what's the first object in the room that your eyes land on? Earlier for me, it was the red couch in my living room. Is it the TV? Is it a random corner? Is it clutter? Or it can be literally nothing at all. And that specific object is the one that you might want to reconsider positioning and or swapping out. There's a couple different pathways you can take in solving this issue. The first pathway would be a grounding anchor. This is usually the rug in the space, and people need to understand why these grounding anchors are so important. A rug is not just decor, it's a boundary line. It designates the space to what its purpose is and the feeling that you get when you enter it. And you guys, please listen to me when I say this. Your rug must be large enough to catch all of the front legs of all the furniture in that area. If you have a rug that's too small and it looks like a bath mat in your living room, It's gonna feel weird and it's gonna feel awkward. Basically, what a small rug does is it creates an island effect in the living room. Everything starts to feel like it's floating and a little bit unrelated. And you might be asking me, Cooper, what do I do if I have wall-to-wall carpeting in your space? And what I say is just get an area rug to put over it. I see no harm in doing that. I don't really have much of a problem with it. Obviously, it comes down to personal preference, but I always think that you can do a really large area rug in a space, even if there's wall-to-wall carpeting. Okay, and so if you can't change your rug, there's another pathway you can take here, and that would be the mass anchor, a large, low visual mass. For example, this might be a sofa with a really long console table behind it, or a bold vertical anchor like a really huge piece of oversized artwork, or tall shelving to help balance out the horizontals in the space. Something really important to keep in mind is that you're balancing visual gravity, and that means if all of your weight is on one side of the room, it'll feel really awkward and tense on that side. Alright, so this next section is going to be very near and dear to my heart right now because I am definitely very guilty of this problem and I've assessed it and I've decided to move forward from it. And that would be that your furniture is nice, but it's not necessarily in conversational shape. I know that sounds a little vague, okay? So just let me explain. There's a concept in the design world called conversation geometry, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Most people will arrange their furniture like a couch against a wall, or a chair in the corner, or a coffee table that's kind of just floating, and the TV is always like the center of attention in the room. That just creates a viewing room and not a living room, okay? And this is where conversation geometry becomes really important because designers think in triangles, pathways, sight lines, and even things as specific as the angles of your shoulders and knees in the space. Because nobody wants to sit in a living room for a long period of time where they have to like awkwardly twist their neck like crazy or shout across the vast space to the other side just to try and get a conversation in. Or spaces can feel too exposed, which would mean it's kind of too open, or they can feel trapped or too tight with furniture. I also want to introduce you guys to a concept called the 8-foot rule. This is something that I always stick to in my design rule book. And basically what it means is that if two people are talking in a space, their faces shouldn't be more than 8 feet apart in a typical living room. Anything past that and the room kind of turns into like presentation mode and conversation will tend to die out in those spaces because nobody wants to overextend their voice just to have small talk. I mean, come on. So take out your measuring tapes, do what you have to do, and go just take a look at how that's going in your own home. And this is the part that really dreads me to talk about here because I'm going through this exact problem right now, and that is the 2-point seating requirement. So a room tends to feel awkward when it only has one obvious place to sit. You know, it could be the couch, like it is in my living room, or it could be a chair that feels decorative but just like not usable. So what the fix here is that every seat must have a couple things. Every seat needs a surface within reach. That could be a table or a ledge. It needs a light source nearby, so either a lamp or a sconce, and a clear, defined relationship to the anchor in the room. I do not want to see you having a zebra print anchor couch in your living room and then a cowhide chair in the corner. Like, no, we're not doing that. This is how designers make rooms feel livable. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is one of the biggest things that I see people struggle with in smaller spaces and homes. And that would be that the room has no path. In other words, it would be you forcing somebody to walk through the seating zone to get somewhere else in the space. And I know that all of us are not going to have the choice to do this, but if you do, this is really important to take into consideration because this is one of those invisible awkwardness creators. So what circulation is it's basically like the traffic map of the room. Think about each type of way somebody can enter through the space. Rooms tend to feel awkward when the natural walking path cuts between a couch and a coffee table, cuts in front of a TV, makes you dodge certain pieces of furniture, and makes the seating zone feel like a hallway. Let's pretend you're walking from your home's entry to the kitchen or the bedroom. If you have to, turn sideways, bump corners, weave through furniture, or step neatly around the coffee table, your layout is definitely not working. And you might be saying, Cooper, how do I fix this? You know, I can't change the location of my front door. There's kind of 3 different things that you can do here. The first would be to pull the furniture off the wall. Most people automatically shove things to the perimeter of the room because they believe that it will make the room feel bigger. But in reality, it just makes it feel like a dentist waiting room. And so pulling the sofa or other big pieces of furniture off the wall wall can create a walkway behind the sofa, create a proper living zone in front of it, and stop the room from functioning like a corridor. The next thing that you can do is rotate one piece of furniture in the room. I find that so many people just like don't rotate their furniture at all in their own homes, and I get really confused by it because it's so easy to do. You know, if you rotate that chair at a slight angle, it can make the room feel more inviting because there's no longer a harsh symmetry. It'll kind of stop the room from feeling like all the furniture kind of lined itself up to be inspected and make it feel more natural and easy to live in. And then the last thing that you can do here is use a console table as a buffer. This is something that I think is kind of an underrated concept, and I'm not sure if most people know about it or not, but they make a ton of really cool slim console tables that you can put behind your sofa. And basically what this console will do is serve as a circulation organizer. It'll create a boundary in the room which will define a clear pathway through the space, and it will make the room have a back and a front. And those two places will be clearly defined instead of in like a weird gray area, which it might be in right now. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is something that's highly gatekept by the entire design industry. And I just feel that so many design content creators just ignore this fact for some reason because it's not fun to talk about, or it's not entertaining enough, or it's not whatever. But in reality, it's one of the most important things to keep in mind in design. And that is that proportions really do matter. And there are a couple simple design rules that you can follow just on a basis. And if you know me, I love to break design rules. These are definitely not set in stone, but if you have a little bit of a hard time, they can be a good guide for you if you're kind of lost. Okay, so let's talk about the specific proportions of furniture pieces in your space. Because yes, your furniture can be high quality, and the proportions can be totally wrong, i.e. the cloud couch everyone kept buying and putting in their tiny apartments. But there's a couple things that you need to consider here. You need to consider the height, you need to consider the depth, you need to consider how bulky the piece is, and something that nobody pays attention to is the leg profile on the furniture item. Very, very important. Some of the most awkward combos that I usually automatically rule out for spaces are couches that are way too deep and really low. I think this is an easy trap to fall into because it sounds really comfortable, but in reality, it's just not that usable for the day-to-day. Another common mistake is a coffee table that's too small and too low as well. Another common mistake is using a side table instead of a coffee table. This means that the table will be too small and too tall, and it kind of just feels like you stuck like a dining room table in the middle of your living room. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then on the flip side, we have side tables that are just a little bit too small for the space. And one common culprit that I don't hear people talk about a lot is floor lamps that are too short. If you have these proportion issues in your home, it really starts to make things feel unrelated and just really like off. So another designer concept that a lot of people don't really talk about or know about is shared datum lines. I'm sure you're probably saying like, Cooper, what are you talking about? Yes, datum lines. These are the invisible lines that designers use. They measure seat height relationships, table height relationships, art center lines, and lamp height. And if a room has too many datum lines that are just like way all over the place, it starts to feel really jittery and just unstable. And you might be saying, Cooper, that sounds like a really like big concept. How do I even go about looking at datum lines in my own home? But don't worry, it's a lot more simple than it sounds. So here are a couple things that you can check. You need to make sure that your side table height is in relation to your sofa's arm height. So for me, my side tables are about 2 inches shorter than my sofa. It allows for easy access, but it doesn't make it feel too tall. I would say that's probably the rule that I would follow for those two items. And this one is really big. Coffee tables really need to relate to the seat height on your sofa. This is one of the biggest problems that I see in spaces. And again, I would say it can either be at the seat height or maybe about 2 inches below, but I wouldn't push lower than that. And I definitely wouldn't do higher than seat height because it tends to just be a little awkward. And lastly, in terms of lighting, all of your floor lamps and table lamps should kind of land at eye level when you're sitting down, not when you're standing up, okay? So in conclusion, your living room is not awkward because you don't have taste or you don't have what it takes to make it beautiful. It's awkward because nobody ever taught you how to make a room work in the first place. And designers and decorators don't just magically have some talent, okay? We just know about the invisible rules and we know when it's okay to break them. And if you want, go ahead, go down below and comment living room and tell me what feels off in your space. It could be awkward, it could be empty, it could be cramped, and I'll tell you which one of these rules controls is most likely the culprit. And again, you guys, this is literally what I do for a living. So if you have a design project that you're working on and you want some help, you can always reach out to me. I'd love to help you with your project, no matter how big or small it is. I offer full service design as well as consulting sessions where you can ask me advice about your space and would love to help you guys out. So don't be shy. There's a ton of really great information on my website and you can click the link down below to book a consultation now. I love you guys so much. I wanted to let you know that I'm back on my schedule of Thursday and Sunday, and so I will be posting here on YouTube on those days at 6 a.m. PST. I hope you guys are having a great day, whatever day you're watching this, and I will see you very soon.